وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي، أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ali Younes, and this is Radio Baladi, and welcome to our new show. Welcome to our new Friday, and I am excited today to be back in the show, and we have a couple of exciting guests from Cairo who will tell us a lot about what's happening in Egypt, in Iraq, and in Syria. As you know, currently there's a lot of happening in Iraq. Iraq is facing dismemberment. Half of the country now in different hands than the central government in Baghdad. We will talk about that, of course. And but the biggest gorilla, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, is what is known as the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, or Syria, known by its acronyms ISIS or ISIL. I want to talk about it. Who are they? Are they Muslim extremists? Are they people who want to restore Muslim or Arab dignity, or people who are driven by hidden agendas? They're supported, as people say, by the regime of Bashar al-Assad or Saudi Arabia or Qatar, like the Prime Minister of Iraq is accusing them of. And I want to talk about also the election of Fattah Sisi, the new president of Egypt, and of course Syria, because it's always there, and a low-intensity war on some level. So I want the guests, welcome the guests, Kelani and Jermiah Bowden from Cairo, but also I want to encourage the viewers. I want you, people in Michigan, in Detroit area, in New York, and all over the world who are listening to me, to pitch in. Enlighten us. Tell us your experiences. Tell us what's happening in your neighborhood, or your political views, or your opinion. I want to see if Ziad with me and Jeremy with me. Are you with me, guys?
Yes. Thanks for having us.
No problem. Ziad Kelani is a professor of political science. Correct me, Ziad, if I sometimes get your credentials wrong, but I know you're teaching at the University of Cairo, and so is Jermiah Bowden, PhD candidate, I think, and the University of Cairo. You all specialize in the Middle East, and you all talk about the Middle East politics, Middle East societies, and Arab societies, and religion of Islam, and politics. So I just want to dig in right away. I want to talk about Iraq right away, because Iraq, it's present. President Obama is sending 300 American military advisors to Iraq to help the Iraqi army, who on June 13th, I believe, left half of the country and deserted their posts. They dropped their weapons and left. Some people say, well, is this ISIS, this Islamic, in Arabic called Daesh, is this superpower? Are they that strong to defeat an Iraqi army? 90,000 Iraqi soldiers deserted, left their duty, left their post, left their tanks, Humvees, armored vehicles, personal weapons, and changed their clothes into civilian clothes and just went south to Baghdad or went home. What is the truth to that? Who's supporting ISIS? Or the Iraqi tribes are rebelling against the government of Baghdad? The Iraqi Sunnis against the Shia domination, as people might say. So, Ziad, I want to start with you. Go ahead, and tell me what do you think of this political sands that are shifting in the Arab world? You see alignment. You see Egypt back to Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Jordan as a bloc. and Turkey, perhaps, and you see Qatar and Turkey as a bloc. With them, of course, on the sidelines, some groups here and there in Arab world. So, what do you think, Ziad?
Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Ali, for having us today. It's a pleasure to be with you again. Actually, this is a very complicated question. You're asking about the whole regional arrangements in a very complicated part of the world.
I know you have a lot to say, so that's why I asked you that.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So, the issue in Iraq, ISIS, and the whole Sunni extremism is very complicated. We cannot just render that to one reason or to one factor. What we can say that the current Iraqi government is a failed government, and it needs to be changed. That's what we agree upon here in the region. As you can see, in the south, starting from Basra to Mosul, the Sunni extremists, ISIS, are controlling the daily life, and the Iraqi government cannot actually counter that. We have seen Syrian airstrikes in the past few days, American airstrikes in the past few days, and actually the Prime Minister Maliki kind of welcomed the Syrian airstrikes, although he said that we didn't coordinate with them.
Yeah, they denied it at first. The Iraqi spokesman denied it, and the Foreign Ministry denied it until BBC yesterday got a confirmation from the Minister Nouri al-Maliki, Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, said, well, we did not ask for it, but hey, if they bomb us, sure, we thank them for it. We appreciate them bombing our country.
So I think these unfolding events will kind of create a new dynamics in the Iraqi politics. Either we will see a division within the state into three states, the Kurdi Peshmerga will take the western parts, and the Sunni extremist factions will take the southern parts, and the Shia factions will take the northern parts. Or we have a national coalition government. Although personally speaking, I kind of put that aside for a while until
do you think that we should consider the reality right now, the alignment that the Sunnis are in the west and in the north, Ramadi, Anbar province, Nainawa province, Salahuddin provinces, all these provinces, there was Sunni majority, and leaving the south to the Shia, and have, of course, have their own region or state. Do you think that's feasible? Do you think Iraqis would support that?
Iraq would support that? I
think the Iraqis would want that, would want their country to be divided into three countries.
I don't think that public opinion now actually influence the high politics. It's all in the hand of politicians. It's all in the hand of the militant groups. But we have two latest developments. Ali Sistani, who's the grandfather of the Ayatollah he's the Pope of Iran. Actually, is promoting an elite change within the government. On the 1st of July to be...
Yes, you are right. Yeah, you are right. Ali Sistani, for our viewers, so they know, issued a statement last week calling on Iraqi volunteers to come forward and support the Iraqi government and join the Iraqi armed forces. So far, hundreds of thousands of young Iraqi men have joined. And Nour al-Maliki issued a statement that all these volunteers will be integrated into the Iraqi armed forces. In other words, they will be issued salaries, ranks, benefits, death benefits, living benefits, and all that stuff. And all these are Shiites. So you see, Ali al-Sistani has also put the weight of the Iraqi religious leadership, or the Shia leadership, the global Shia leadership, Baha'id Nur al-Malik. So I think this is, quite remarkable and dangerous at the same time, because it shows how Iraq is going toward more Shia versus Sunni, us versus them, as opposed to we are all Iraqis, we are all, have one national identity, Iraqi nationalism, so to speak. Okay.
Well,
so
that's
go ahead, Ziad.
Yeah. So from this ongoing conflict and from this focus on identity politics in the whole region, not just Iraq. You have seen that in different countries in the post-Arab Spring countries. That's why we were at the U.S. Me and Dr. Jermiah promoting this initiative sponsored by the Shafiq Gabr Foundation here in the U.S., which is promoting culture exchange and understanding between the East and West. And the East and West here does not imply only different states or different global hemispheres. It implies
you're talking about promoting
your idea you're just talking about, which is us versus them. We need to kind of reconcile that and to understand the commonalities between different factions living together or living abroad or holding different convictions.
You're trying to promote cultural and dialogue and peace between East. You're talking about the Islamic world and Arab countries and Western countries.
Yes. As a part of a global initiative, it's called the East-West: The Art of Dialogue. It was launched in 2010 by the Shafiq Gabr Foundation in Egypt here.
Right.
Egyptian businessman. This is very important, by the way.
Allow me just one step into that. I think, look, I've been doing this for a long time, writing the Arab and the Western world, U.S. politics, but I think what we need today, a dialogue among ourselves. I don't need to talk to the Germans about, German, Arab, Christian, Muslim relations. I have to have an Islamic relations, an Islamic dialogue, Shia Sunni dialogue, Arab Christians and Arab Muslims talk to each other. We need to first, before I promote dialogue with other cultures, I need to promote dialogue and coexistence and tolerance in my culture. Okay? When I see Islamic terrorist extremists beheading men, cutting the hands of men, when I see dictators in Syria and in Iraq killing people because they happen to be Sunni, or they happen to be Shia, or they happen to be Iraqis. Christian Iraq is fled their country of several thousand years, and they are living in the States or Australia, everywhere. And yet, and no one is promoting dialogue between the government and the people, between the people and the people. I think, we are some sort of schizophrenic. Germany doesn't care about us. The United States doesn't care about Arab societies. They don't care. I mean, we don't exist to them as far as a culture, as far as religion. We are underdeveloped societies. We are third world nations, and we can't even talk to each other, let alone we want to talk to them about what? About, the Crusaders, ended 1,000 years ago. Okay? I think, I'm not trying to criticizing your efforts. They're great, but I think it should be within the umbrella of global dialogue among Muslims. That's the problem. Muslims can't talk to each other. Muslims kill each other. In Indonesia, I believe, or Malaysia, I'm not sure, but I think Indonesia, the court decided that Christians cannot use the word Allah, because Allah is, maybe because it's in the Quran, only for Muslims. So, look at the travesty that even in our societies, we bicker. We have problems about a word here or there, about whether I'm Sunni, whether I have a beard, whether I'm a Christian, whether I'm Muslim Brotherhood, whether I'm secular. So all these huge issues that we are going through in the Arab world, we need to talk about it. And that's why I have you here, Ziad, because as an expert on these things, and Jeremy Bowden. So with that, I got 1 minute before I shift to another break, one break at 8:15. But Jeremy, I want to welcome you to the show. I know you're at Claremont Center and University of Claremont, I believe, and to talk about all these things. just give me in 1 minute, and I go back with you to talk about it after the break. But in 1 minute digest, what do you think is happening in Iraq today?
Sure. As far as what's happening in Iraq, I think, this is an issue of exclusionary politics happening on both sides. We have Maliki excluding Sunnis from the army. I think that's weakening their country as a whole. Inclusive politics and embracing diversity, I think, is one of the things that makes the United States strong. And I think it's something that can make Arab countries just as strong. ISIL isn't much better at all. To the extent that Al-Qaeda is saying, you're too extreme for us, we don't want to be associated with you anymore.
That's the irony of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, extreme politics is something that we see all around the world. And maybe it's not something to the extent of killing each other, but we definitely have polarized politics in the United States.
But why Arab societies? I want to try to get the answer to that. Why Arab societies? Either it's a zero-sum game. Either I am too extreme or nothing. Why can't I be middle of the road? Why can't I live with my neighbor, freely? And if you ask many Iraqis in Detroit who immigrated from their region, they never, had the issue of, you are Sunni or Shia or you're a Christian or Muslim. But why today? Why we have all these issues today?
Yeah, I think it's just the nature of polarized politics. Once we get, one side or the other, and things become, Manichaean. You're either on the side of light or darkness. And when it comes to that
black or white
situation, you're going to be pushing one group or the other, and people want to see things as being black and white without accepting the fact there is a large gray area.
But do you think?
And I'm not sure nationalism is going to be much more a much better paradigm to push forward to bring people together. I think we're seeing my experience in Cairo, it seemed as though if you're not pro-Sisi and pro-nationalism, then you must be a Brotherhood supporter.
Right.
It's just the nature of this polarized
politics. I want to talk about that because this Manichaean worldview you mentioned about either you're with me or you're not with me, black and white issue, it also exemplified, and we saw it in Egypt, as you rightly said, whether you're a Sisi or not Sisi. But I want to take a break, for a few minutes, and I want to go back to Ziad to talk about the situation in Egypt, the election, the democratic, experience, so to speak. I'm skeptical about this, but I want to talk to Ziad about it. Let's go for a commercial break.
New Concept Product and Design، رائدة إعداد وتجهيز المطاعم والمطابخ بالمعدات بشكل كامل، غرف التبريد والثلاجات. يمكننا مساعدتكم في الحصول على التمويل اللازم لمشروعكم، وكذا الحصول على الإجازات اللازمة من الدوائر الصحية. نخدمكم بخبرة 25 عاما. ناجي عبود صديقكم الدائم. للاتصال الهاتف رقم 248-442-9292 248-442-9292 وتماما على 33900 West 8 Mile Farmington Hills. للمزيد من التفاصيل زيارة الموقع الإلكتروني www.nuconceptproducts.com.
Betsy's Bridal and Formal, Michigan's largest selection of special occasion dresses. Exclusive bridal and cocktail fashions for formal engagements, proms, showers, pageants, mother of the bride and groom, and full bridal wear. Sizes 6 through 30. Betsy's has over 33 years in the bridal business. We promise you the best quality service and alterations. Betsy's Bridal and Formal is located at 6189 Haggerty Road in West Bloomfield. Call 248-669-9999. That's 248-669-9999.
And welcome to Radio Ballad. This is your host, Ali Younes, and that was a quick, short commercial break. I'm excited about that because I want to get back to talking about this exciting issue. Give me a call at 248-557-3300. Let's talk about your experience in Arab world or your opinion about what's going on in Iraq, a beautiful country, a country of cradle civilizations. Unfortunately, we see it being dismembered. I see it being overrun by extremism on both sides and explosionary politics, as Jermiah have said. Before the break, I posed the questions to Ziad about this Manichaean worldview, the view that says either you're with me or against me. It's a black and white issue. There's no gray area that we could live both of as diverse groups, as citizens of one country. How comes yet we don't have this, high degree of tolerance in the Arab world, and especially nowadays? Although, we have always coexisted together. We have always been Egyptians of different colors and stripes and religious views, or Jordanians or Iraqis. Why today? What happened today, Ziad?
Yeah, this is true. Just let me go back to something and disagree with you, actually. I totally understand what you're saying.
You can't disagree with me. That's the attitude of the Arab world. No one can disagree with it. But here in America, go ahead and disagree with me, Ziad, I'm not going to kill you.
I totally understand your point regarding how the Arab societies cannot actually have a competition with each other today. But this is like the argument of Orientalism in general. What Bernard Lewis talked about, what Hamilton Gibb talked about, that there is like something in the Arab mind, which I don't believe in it, actually. I don't think that there is something related to the Arab mind or the Islamic culture that...
it's not biological. It's not biological or cultural issue that we can't talk to each other. But it's a political issue that we are being shifted. We are being polarized. That prevents me as a Shia or as a Sunni or as a Christian from talking to my next door neighbor. So why, of course, to have an argument there is that I don't agree with the Orientalism, Orientalists, Bernard Lewis and all these groups, and our right-wing, intellectual centers in America would argue, well, something wrong with these Arabs, okay? Something wrong with these Muslims. Something has to be grainly enshrined in the Quran or in Arab culture. But of course, this is not true, as you rightly said. Go ahead, Kat. Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's okay. There is, let me admit that I'm working on political generations and political replacements in the region, in the MENA region. And we kind of detect there is a growing trend of conservatism in the whole region between different generations. We do that through quantitative analysis. Our results imply that there is a growing trend of conservatism and less ability to tolerate each other, starting after the fall of communism and the fall of USSR. This is like a very complicated phenomena. The causation of it till now not so far explained. I cannot just render it to one factor or to one reason. But I can say that even like this kind of view, us versus them, is inherited in liberalism. It's inherited in the U.S., where you can see that in the we have seen that through the Bush administration and the neoconservatives who were in power for about 8 years. There is this inherent idea that either to be with me and to agree with all of what I'm saying,
but since yet
or you be the enemy.
This is not like the worldview of the political system in the U.S. It's diverse. The Republicans were in power for 8 years, but then elected the first African American, president, sort of rejecting this whole notion. So 8 years of Bush, what you rightly said is that conservatism. Now, what we see on the other side, 8 years of Barack Obama of total opposite. He says, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to bomb anybody. I don't want to help the Syrians. I want to withdraw my troops from Afghanistan. I want to withdraw my troops from Iraq. And the hell with you guys. U.S. is not your babysitter. We're not going to babysit you. If you can't talk to each other, go ahead. Be my guest. Kill each other. So in the U.S., we saw the other extreme, but also we see the other, counter antidote to that, so to speak. I don't want to say too extreme on the liberal side or the Democratic side because it's not. But you see, in the Arab world, I don't see that diversity. You see El-Sisi, they put the guy in jail, and they say, okay, I'm going to have a democracy. You can go to the polls and vote. All the trappings of democracy is there. And then we have a vote, and there we announcement of a winner. Hey, I won. Okay? Bashar al-Assad has all the trappings of democracy. Hey, I'm running for office. My name on the ballot. Hey, I won. Maliki, I won. Everybody won. So all that, the trapping is just a decor of democratic. We don't have a counter or antidote for that in Arab world, as we see in the United States or other more liberal, more open societies in the West, or Indonesia, or in Malaysia, Muslim countries, or in Turkey. You know, it's just the West.
I'll briefly touch on that to give the floor to Jermiah. Well, the ideas of universal acceptance and tolerance is actually generated, historically speaking, by the way, generated from my part of the world. When Al-Farabi, Imam Al-Farabi and Al-Mawardi talked about it in the 11th and 12th century, there was kind of a bridge between the Hellenistic culture and the Islamic culture. We were using the same concepts that are being used now in the Western world. What happens afterwards, I can simply render that to colonialism.
Yeah. What went wrong? Yeah, go ahead. Hit me with it.
Yeah, I think what went wrong in our history is the effect of colonialism. Colonialism, the British and the French colonialism relied on exclusionary politics, as Jermiah was saying. They needed to control the society that they were governing, and the only way to control them was actually to set them apart. And we are inheriting that because the current governments in our region, in my region, are inheritors of the colonialist powers. They didn't invent anything new. They are ruling in the same tactics, and at the same time, you cannot just you cannot just
Ziad, sorry to interrupt, but that's a good, valid argument. It's a strong argument. The effect, the impact of colonialism, what Edward Said has written about, and many have written about. Post-colonialism, Arab societies or third world societies. You see that in India. You see that in Jamaica. You see that in many parts of the world. Let me switch to Jeremy. What do you think of what Ziad's argument about, the reason for what's happening today is the impact, the effect of sort of the colonialism, sort of like they planted it in us, some sort of a virus or a cancer that has eaten us from the inside. That is, colonialism. As you know, many of the Arab states were established by colonial powers. Lebanon, we created it out of Syria, and we put the Maronites, in power. So that's, excluding others from being on top or not living the playing field for everybody else in Lebanon. Iraq, Sunnis or the monarchy, when established in Jordan. In Egypt, the elitists, always took over power at the expense of the vast amount of poor Egyptians, without creating a structure where everybody else can have equal playing field. Ironically, all these countries were, democratic countries. We did not emulate democracy in Britain or in France. We emulated at the time when they established the Arab countries, fascism for Italy or Germany. What do you think, Jeremy?
Sure. Let me just start off by saying I don't think this Manichaean worldview is something that stems from a Islamic worldview. It says in the Quran, that there is a beauty in diversity, and that we should seek unity through diversity. Had Allah wanted us all to be the same society, He would have created us that way. So I don't think it's something particular to the Muslim worldview, so I just want to point that out right away. I do agree with Ziad, this idea of colonialism. We have Western powers coming into the Middle East, parsing up countries as they see fit, and grouping these people together that may not necessarily agree on all kinds of topics. So when you have these artificial boundaries, and saying, okay, this is going to be Iraq, this will be Iran, this will now be considered the country of Egypt. The issues, I think, compound each other. So I think that's a real issue. As far as this black and white and not finding the gray area, I think that one of the difficulties of being in the infancy stages of a blossoming democracy. And hopefully we don't see a regression now with some of the leaders that may be coming up. I think the United States has 200 years of experience with democracy, and we still don't have it right. I mean, there's plenty of times that I've seen political debates get so heated that it will get to the point of violence. Now, certainly it's not to the extent of killing one another, but it was not that long ago. We look at the Civil War when it's an ideological difference between the North and the South that leads to the deaths of, hundreds of thousands of young men.
Right. But, Jeremy, you're telling me that in Iraq, so, that's the impact of colonialism. But, that's politics. But what's the role of religion in Shia Islamic, with you? Sistani are the golden words, okay? And then hundreds of thousands of men joining, polarizing the Iraqi society. What does colonialism have to do with that?
I think we're
on
still
the other side, Sunni extremists equal that, but that's a minority in the Sunni Islamic world. ISIS or Daesh or ISIL or Al Qaeda or Al Nusra Front, there are a few thousands. I mean, ISIL or ISIS only has maybe 5 to 6, maybe 5 to 10,000 in Syria and Iraq. They don't have hundreds of thousands of young Arab Sunni men joining the fight for the cause of Sunni Islam. We don't have that. Al Qaeda has a few thousands, so it's a very minority. I'm not equaling that with the Shia leadership or with the Shia branch of Islam. I'm not saying both are terrorist groups, but what I'm saying is you have polarization on the grounds of religion. Okay.
Yeah.
And so why we have that? Why the West has to babysit us all the time?
Sure. I think religion's been used as a rallying cry for all kinds of different positions from the inception of humanity. I don't necessarily think it's something that's intrinsic to religion. However, I do see religion being used as a tool to motivate forces to join the cause. We've seen this in Ireland. We've seen it in the Balkans. Looking at Serbia and Croatia. The Catholics saying, we're threatened here, and the Orthodox saying, we're threatened here. We better go take care of these Bosnian Muslims. They're the real issue. I think it's more of a rallying cry more than anything else. Scott Appleby has a book called The Ambivalence of the Sacred, which I'm a huge fan of. It's the idea that religion can be used for a force of good or evil. It's just how it's implemented. And in itself, there is this ambivalence.
Yeah. Jeremy, I want to go for a commercial break, but when I come back, I want to talk to you and Ziad about the role of Arab society. Now we understand that politicians or religious leaders use religion as a cry in point. And you're right. And that's the antidote to what Ziad mentioned about the colonialism, trying to pinpoint the blame on that the religion is somehow organically false, or false. And, but you said, it's not intrinsic. It's not part of the religion of Islam or Christianity to be this violent or to be this exclusionary against others. But when I come back, I want to talk about why Arab societies are not aware. I mean, we have the age of the Internet. They could see, they could read the information. They have access to knowledge. They have access to power. They could make some change, as what happened in Egypt, against Mubarak. I'm going to go back to our commercial break, and when I come back, I want to talk about these issues. My number here is 248-557-3300, and I'm Ali Younes. Let's go for a break.
Ziad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziad.com. That's www.ziad.com. Ziad, quality products from our family to yours.
Dr. Al Zuhaili specializes in diabetes and endocrinology and has been conducting research for over 12 years. Right now, there are several clinical studies actively enrolling for both adult and pediatric patients with type 2 diabetes. Under Dr. Al Zuhaili's care, participants in the clinical research trials receive free lab work, medical procedures, medical supplies, and medications to assist in their treatment. Qualified participants are also compensated for their time and travel in addition to receiving top care for their diabetes treatment and control. The research department is equipped with experienced and friendly staff who will work to manage patient care and schedule accommodations. Please contact Al Zuhaili Medical Consultants at 1331 Monroe Street in Dearborn. Visit alzuhailidiabetes.com and call 313-581-8903. 313-581-8903.
And good morning again. This is your host, Ali Younes. We are on Radio Baladi. We have an exciting conversation on the intellectual side, and I'm trying to break it down a little bit to make it more less jargony, so to speak. But I'm talking to my friend Ziad. Who's Ziad? Ziad Al-Kelani from University of Cairo, and Jermiah Bowden, also from the University of Cairo, doing research there, center in Cairo. Also Jermiah from the University of Claremont here, I think at Lincoln, Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Jeremy?
Actually, it's my graduate university here in Southern California. We're part of the
Southern California. Yeah, that's different than Lincoln, Nebraska, of course.
A little bit nicer weather out here.
Yeah, nicer weather. But I'm talking about all these issues, and I have a caller on the line. My friend Najib will always call me and give me an input about his views about what happened in his native country, Iraq. Najib, welcome to the show.
Dr. Ali Younes?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
By the way, go ahead. Just call me Ali.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. I want to correct it. Mr. Younes, right?
Yes, Ali Younes.
Thank you for the compliment. Before any talk, I just want to say congratulations for the whole the world and the humanity and to all the people for Shahr Ramadan al-Mubarak.
Yeah, thank you. It's upon us already.
Yes, and hopefully this month, the month of mercy and forgiveness, to come as a sunshine for our disrupted countries in the Middle East. Amen.
Yeah, let's hope that.
Yes, sir. And I salute you, and I salute your program, your show, and Mr. Ziad and the other gentlemen. I don't know their name. Thank you. Mr. Younes, over here, what I try to say, this organization, or whatever they call their name, Daesh or whatever.
Yeah,
Dr. Younes, this remind me about the old days, a few centuries back, 1,500 years ago, or 2,000 years ago, or 1,000 years ago. Remind me about the war, the holy war, Al-Hurub al-Salibiyya.
Right, the Middle Ages. Were you there, Najib?
Pardon me?
Were you there?
To be honest with you, I have a vision. So anyway, Mr. Younes, Al-Hurub al-Salibiyya, the Holy Cross from European invaders to the Middle East, and allow me to use the word والغزوات الإسلامية قبل 1000 عام. Ustad Younes, they were carrying the flag of a Holy Cross, or the Sor, or Al-Hilal, or maybe Jamajum or غيرها. Dr. Ali Younes, I try to say to you and to your distinguished guests, they were using those things. They want to control the people by the name of God, by the name of Holy Bible, of Holy Quran. And God, He is nothing have to do with those people. Only they were trying to use His name to be able to control more lands, more territory. استعمار قديم.
So that's an excellent point.
Mr. Ali Younes, what I try to say here, if you don't mind, 2 words. يجب, it must, the politics be for politicians and for the people who they have a bright mind, عقول متفتحة.
Yes. Where are we as society?
Yes, and to leave religion for the religious people in the Knesset, in the Kanisa, in the Jama, in the Masjid. أعطوا لقيصر ما لقيصر. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Najib. I appreciate it. So, Najib, actually, Jermiah and Ziad, have complimented our point. In the Arab world, we live in the Middle Ages. We kill each other based on religion, on political identities, and political affiliations. Are we, the Crusaders all over again? Crusaders started in 1099, 1,000 years ago, and the West invaded us. Not because they want to spread the good message of Christianity. They want to spread the good message of the King of England, King of Spain, and the Holy Roman Empire expansion. in the Middle East. They want to expand the Middle East. Are we seeing? I always say that in the Arab world and Muslim world, we are, in comparison to Europe, we are in the Middle Ages that Europe had went through. Christian 100 years war, 30-year war, Protestants against Catholics, and against a reformation of the Protestants and all that stuff. Jermiah and Ziad, let me start with you, Ziad. Just give me a quick 5 minutes take on that. Are we in the Middle Ages? Where are the Arab societies? How come I don't see a movement in Egypt that want democracy? They just want order. They want peace. They don't want chaos. They want Al-Sisi or a general ABC, whatever, fill in the blank, Billy Joe Muhammad. I want to restore order. I don't want democracy. I want security. I see that in Syria. We want security. I don't care if Bashar or no Bashar. I want security, even if he's a dictator, even if he takes my civil rights, even if he takes my human rights. It would even sacrifice, a few people, a few hundreds of thousands of people. In Iraq, you see the dynamics that we want security. We don't want ISIS. We sacrifice democracy, so we can have order and security. Why do you think that's Ziad? I mean, go ahead, give me your opinion on these issues.
I don't think we're living in the Middle Ages anymore. At least in Egypt, in my country, the percentage of those students enrolled in universities are about 2 million students, and we actually each year, at least for my school,
that's comforting, Ziad, that Egypt is not in the Middle Ages. I'm glad you said that because Egypt is crucial. Go ahead.
But we're not living in the Middle Ages. I think here, we had something went wrong during the 3 years of in the past 3 years. When we look back and step back for a while, and these moments of romance during the revolution, there was this kind of solidarity and coalition between all people. But after that, afterwards, there was a shift in the nature of politics, and this actually matches what Mr. Naguib was talking about, which is the focus on identity politics. Politics in general shouldn't include identity. It should be a process of compromises and reconciliation. You have to lose in order to gain. This is politics, and this is how it works in the Western
you have to compromise. Yeah, you have to compromise. It's not you have to take everything. See, the Palestinians, for example, they always had the view, we want entire Palestine. We want the whole thing or nothing. In the 20s and 30s, the Jewish immigration to Palestine said, well, give us just one city. Give us Tel Aviv. We're happy with it. And they ended up taking the whole pie. So that's the difference.
Till now, we don't understand that in our part of the world. And this has nothing to do with religion, as Jeremiah was saying. It has to do with the actual the actual dealings of politics. Our elite in the region are not yet matured enough. They have different structural problems. But let me tell you the following. Historically speaking, we had many theorists and many rulers who actually understood this kind of point. Like, for instance, Salah ad-Din, when he was fighting the Crusaders, and when he actually managed to conquer Jerusalem, like he didn't take
prisoners. He did not kill people, the prisoners. He did not sack the city.
Yeah, he didn't kill Christians or Jews, and he didn't take all the Holy Land. He actually reached a deal with the Crusaders, and they were engaged in fightings for about 500 years. So politics is not a utopian process. That's what we need to understand in our part of the world, and to actually engage in it. Let me touch upon other thing, actually. What you were talking about, the role of the Arab societies in our region.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Arab societies are marginalized and they are not naive or stupid, but they have their priorities. According to the public opinion polls that we are doing, according to the cohort analysis and the intra and intergeneration replacements that we are trying to assess in these parts of the world, people are actually kind of postponing their democratic choices. Because we think that there is a crucial issues now to focus on, which is stability and economy. It has nothing to do with people being naive. People are not naive in the region.
That's comforting, guys. Yeah, I'm going to shift to Jeremy. So, different priorities. They're not naive. They're not minors. They're not babies. When the West babysit us. That's a great point, and I'm glad you mentioned it, Ziad, because in Egypt there's poverty, but also the poverty is the cause of bad politics, the bad economies by bad politicians. When I have Bashar al-Assad, president of Assad family in Syria for 40 years, come on, can I have a different economic program there? I don't see nothing. It's a socialism or a semi-socialism, semi-capitalism. So that made people think, I have a priority here. I want security. I want order. I want, better economic. I want better education. So that, the priority of Arab society, trumped all other, bigger, maybe big pictures as we should have democratic reform. We live in a society where my kids or the grandkids live in a better society, as the Americans or the British or the Dutch or the Europeans or the Germans sacrifice in their generations for the future and for the goodwill of their country, for the goodwill of Egypt or Iraq or Jordan. Jeremy, go ahead. Tell me about what you view why the Arab societies are not having a priority to have unity and diversity and tolerance. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Sure. So let me touch on a few points here. First of all, the emphasis on economics. I agree. If we emphasize that too much, we could lift up another dictator such as Hitler. He won Man of the Year from Time magazine because of the impact that he had on the economy in Germany. So I think we need to be cognizant of that fact. Secondly, when we're looking at whether the Middle East is caught in the Middle Ages because they're not advancing in certain areas or this amount of conflict,
and
they're willing to
religion, the control of religion.
These leaders, I don't agree with it at all. To be perfectly honest, I think until the basic needs are met, until the guy that's living in the slums, in the informal sector in Egypt has food on the table, and he does not need to worry about making sure his family's going to survive for another day, I think he can care less if it's Sisi or whoever. As long as he's getting food, to him it's not going to matter. So this idea of basic needs being met is huge.
Just the basic needs, Jeremy. I mean, what about education? What about, his kids will grow up and become what? Just live in another shack in the slums? Or become doctors or lawyers or engineers, have a better life?
Right. Well, and when we were meeting there, with the current population growth and the lack of school construction, I think it was about another 6 years before they don't have enough schools to house the children for a public education. So that's a huge issue that Egypt is going to have to address in the near future.
What about Syria?
Yes,
what about Syria? Syria, you have this, a revolution that has started. People call it revolution. People call it now it's a civil war. But against dictatorship, they want a democracy, and now it's shifting. Now I see some public opinion when they see ISIS. Now they say, well, I'm better off with Bashar al-Assad. I think. We started the program
of ISIS with all of the rebels that are in Syria right now. That's another problem, I think. Why do you think Islamic groups or terrorists, actually extremist terrorists, were able to slice half of Iraq, but they will not be able to conquer one major Syrian city of Aleppo, Halab, or Homs? They were not able to do that, but they were able to do that in Iraq. And why Syria? The Syrian regime bombed Iraq, bombed the ISIS locations, but he never bombed ISIS headquarters in Al-Raqqa or in Deir ez-Zor. They're right there. He could have bombed them. He could have killed them right there in Syria. Maybe he wants them to be all over the world, all over the internet, cutting hands, chopping off hands, or beheading men. So people say, well, I'm better off with Bashar al-Assad because I want security. And that's, we talked about the priorities. Ziad mentioned, I have a priority as opposed to a larger picture, because maybe there is a manipulation by the Arab regimes, the Arab dictators or Arab kings or emirs or whatever. They could be dictators, it could be, whatever you call them, depends on your worldview. But you see that there's a manipulation there? Yeah, no, I think it definitely happens in societies in general. To take the Egyptian example, it seemed as though the MBs were often portrayed as you can either have Mubarak or you need to be worried about the Muslim Brothers. And then as time went forward, the Muslim Brothers are saying, well, we're really not as bad as the Salafis over here. Those are the guys you really need to be concerned about. So I think there's always going to be someone else pointing the finger. No, we're not the real bad guys here. Let's find somebody else to point the finger at. And when you have multiple people pointing at the same group and saying, okay, yeah, these guys are really the bad guys.
So Jeremy, let me ask you, who are the bad guys in our neighborhood in the Arab world? Who are the bad guys? And I want to ask you this, and Ziad, to talk about it. Who are the bad guys? If they're not, everybody pointing a finger to one another, who are the really bad guys? Is it America?
For me personally, yeah, I think Americans have played a large role in disrupting the area, the region. We often hear time and again on these political talk shows, Benghazi, 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 championing the deaths of these 4 Americans and how tragic that is, without giving a pause or a single word to the 100,000 plus Iraqi civilians that have died because of our military intervention. So this privileging of our nation or our people above everyone else, I think is the wrong perspective to have. And until we start having a world perspective,
Jeremy, this is as if in the Jordanian parliament or the Egyptian parliament, when they talk about their issues, they also have to be very considerate of the plight of Americans being on welfare or having a health care or not. I mean, we asking the American politicians to care about the livelihood or the well-being of Arab society. Sure, great point. U.S. invaded Iraq and caused, hundreds of thousands of deaths of Iraqis and 500 Americans who died there. Needless. This was a useless war. We all agree on that. But shouldn't be the job of Arab societies to care and Arab politics to care about themselves and say to America, hey, you can't invade our country. Hey, I don't want your money. I don't want your interference. We could have good relationship. We could be friends. We could cooperate on many levels. But hey, you don't have to dominate me. You don't have to take over my country. I think this is the job of the Arab societies and the Arab countries and the Arab politicians to say that. Let me hear Ziad take on that. Who's the bad guy here, Ziad?
Well, I think this is a very complicated question. After my visit to the U.S., I met some officials here at your place, ranging from the Congress to the State Department to the White House. I don't think that there is a whole set of institutions that you can point at and say that they actually intervened in our part of the world. It's far more complicated than that. And even in terms of
simplify it, yeah. Let's because our viewers want to hear your view and my view, and this is intelligent conversation, and so we want to make it for people to understand why are we having all these issues and all these problems.
Yeah. Go ahead. So I think what we're trying to do, me and Jermiah and other colleague of ours, is to go back to the history, to go back to our Islamic history and our Middle Eastern history. We had this Al-Imam Abu al-Hasan al-Mawardi when he wrote the ordinances. Let me touch upon that. And he was talking about we need to push away the idea of divine authority, that any kind of ruler that would came to power in the Islamic world should be under supervision of the people, and we kind of lack that nowadays. And one of the major issues that you were talking about, why don't the Arab societies develop and they hold more tolerant perspective, although they have the internet, although they have access to information. What we learned through this experience, through the East-West dialogue, through the Gabr Foundation, is actually when you encounter with other cultures, not only you get to know about the other culture, but you know more about yourself, and that's what we are trying to promote through our proposed center. We are launching a center as a part of initiative which is called the Global Citizenship Center. an initiative to promote intercultural discourse between the East and West, which includes more understanding of the self. I didn't understand much of Egypt.
So yet your work and Jeremy's work and with the Gabra Center is to, while we have dialogue and conversation with other cultures, other societies in the world, we learn about ourselves. Which is a valid point. I think when I see how the Western societies came about to be, after World War I, World War II, millions of people died, and now they care about human rights and civil rights, at least for their societies. So is that your work, that we need to learn, about ourselves, but also by looking at the experiences of other societies. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes. This is our work, and we get that from history. All of the encounters with Western culture and Hellenistic or even in Indian cultures in the history of the Arab world actually led to development, starting from the translation of different Indian stories to the translation of the Platonic and Aristotelian philosophy, led to the development of the Muslim world during the Abbasid dynasty. So
yes, and let's not forget the Persian work too, because the Persians might be upset. We'd never learned anything from them. But also that tells you that Muslim society at that time, in the golden year, maybe between 900 AD and 1200, were a much more open society. I believe it was like more America. You could be Persian, you could be Arab, you could be Sunni, you could be whatever. You could be Shia, you could be Christian, and you could be prominent in the society. It was much more open because we learned as Muslim societies from the experiences of the Christian world or the Jewish world or the Indian culture or the Persian culture, and we developed a lot of course, more about how to build a state from the previous states that Muslims came about to supplant and take over from. I want to just finish with Jeremy. Jeremy, go ahead. Any parting words about your work and Ziad's work?
Sure. I just want to push forward this idea that it's not necessarily a dialogue just between East and West. I mean, that's definitely part of the Gabra Foundation and what they're trying to do. But, the focus of our center focuses on building global citizens. And I think that means breaking down the barriers that exist within our own communities. The United States definitely has an issue with polarized politics right now and bridging the gap between the left and the right. And we see those same barriers in different instantiations all over the globe. So I think moving forward, if we're going to have progress as a species, we have to move beyond these lines that divide us. And the only way we can do that is by changing our perspective.
Well, that's good to hear. In other words, what Ziad and Jeremy talked today about, global citizens that I could talk to Christian or Muslim.
Ali, we got about a minute left here.
Yes, I'm down to 1 minute. I'm just finishing my last speech in this talk show. But I want to say, I enjoyed the conversation with Ziad Kelani from Egypt and Jermiah Bowden, who's in Southern California, and they talk about and they work with the Arab societies. And we covered a lot of ground. Unfortunately, we only have 1 hour.